What up, YouTube, YouTube, YouTube? It's been a while, man. I'm sick, man. I lost like 20 pounds. It's freaking ridiculous. But here we go. I believe this is Sample School Volume 12. And this is all about being inspired by sounds. I really just took a sound that kind of inspired me, but I really wanted to get this point across. So rather than take forever and finding something that made me go, whoa, sometimes I'll just take one simple sample and then build on it. And a lot of times I do it just for the exercise. And let me explain what I mean. You don't always have to find a perfect loop to chop up. Sometimes it could be a noise. It could be a sound. It could be a keyboard part. It could be a bass part. It could be a string part. And what I encourage you to do is sometimes take those single elements, a single sample element, then build on it. Meaning, take instrumentation, use plugins, keyboards, whatever, and build on just that one thing. And even if the beat's not hot and it's a throwaway beat, what you're going to find yourself doing is the more you start building, you're going to get more familiar with the keys, even though you may not be playing them correctly, because I definitely don't play the keys correctly. You're going to get more familiar with your sounds, and you're going to get more familiar with what sounds together and how to make a composition. And even though it's not perfect, what happens is you'll find that once you start incorporating your samples and your chops and you want to add elements to it, it starts to come more easy. Why? Because you're doing it constantly. So every so often, if you're in a beat slump, find a single element, be it a sample from a record or construction kit. In this case, edigging.com. Shout out to my man Gadget. I took a sample from there. They had a keyboard part, and I just came up with something. And I don't know how the beat's going to end up, but the purpose is not that I'm trying to make the hottest beat, but I'm trying to groom myself to make compositions around a single element. And when you see what I do, you'll truly understand where I'm coming from. It will make you better. Trust me. We are here to hone our skills. So do this. I'm not trying to make a hot beat. I'm going to say that again. But it will hone your skills. It will make you better. It will make you better. So, alright. So this is Sample School Volume 12. I call it the composition or the build-up, or however you want to talk about it. Alright? So, let's start off with the sample. Let's start off with the sample. This is the sample. Now, I can do that two ways. I could just take that loop and I could build around that loop. Or I could chop it up. And what I may actually do is do it both ways. Make a loop and then chop it up. But I'm going to chop it up first. And I'll go through the chop up part. Then I'll take that loop and build around that. And I may not show the whole process because then that'll make for a long video. But I'll show you the end result and go through the little elements that I came up with in doing so. So, yeah, let's get started. I knew I liked the sample, so it was already picked. And I already made some chops, so let's go to that. What's going on, man? That's it. That's it. So check it out. Alright, so that's the chops, and I'm gonna build around that. So yeah, I'm just going straight in the cuff through. I know I'm gonna add a bass, so I already select Bass Engine. I'm actually using Bass Engine 2, which is really cool. Dope VST, another great product. So therefore, you got two great resources already. edigging.com and Dope VST. So let's get into it. Now, what I chose to do on this with the bass, I could do it on a keyboard, on the keys, but I decided to use the pads. And I already realized that this is like a B flat minor note. And once you start messing with your notes and stuff, you'll start to learn that stuff too. It'll start coming to you. You'll just find the key that coincides with it. And your B flat minor key is generally gonna, like, if your B minor is generally gonna be white, but if it's a B flat minor, typically it's going to be the black key. So what I did was I went and pad assigned once I hooked up my VST. Now I could do chords or I could do notes or whatever. So I set it to notes and I put it in B minor. And I'm in a natural B minor. I could be a harmonic minor. I don't know how I did it, but alright. I'm not really hearing that big of a difference. Now I am. Yeah, so it's cool to play around with it. So that's what I'm gonna roll with. Hopefully you can hear that bass. There we go. So now I'm gonna add double part. Alright. So now I got that. So now I'm gonna find my drums. And typically a lot of times when I work like this, I just look for a drum break. Because they're inspirational and it's fast to get your ideas done. And even if you don't stick with that drum break, you can always go back and do your own drum pattern. So yeah, so I'm gonna find a decent drum break that I think will work. And I think I know where I want to go. And that's another thing. Know your sounds or where your stuff is. And right now, my main thing, I'm around 82 beats, 82 BPMs. So. Alright, so they got more going on than what I wanted to have for a break. So I want something a little bit more boom bap, a little bit more laid back. So I'm gonna go with my trusty. I think I'm gonna go with Smoker's Relight. I'm gonna go with Premier Beats. A lot of loops. And my beats. I'm gonna do my beats with swing. This is 85, so I'm gonna roll with this. That works. So that works. So now I'm gonna load this up. I just want to make sure I didn't load it to a pad by mistake. Go my sample edit, and now I'm found my drum break. So it's a simple 8 beat, although it's got swing to it. So to make this fast, I'm just going to go ahead and chop it up by regions. It's 8 beats, so therefore chopping it up into 16 makes it simple. So if I want to switch things up, I can, or I can just go through the pads and the drum loop will play like it originally played. But every so often, so you can do other little things if you want. I think I went over this before. So I got that. So let's make it a program. Convert that thing. Do it. We ready to rock and roll. Alright, so now I'm going to take my pianos down a little bit. So I get an idea of the other instruments I want to play and come off a melody that I think will complement it. And I'm thinking strings next. So I got my piano that I chopped up from a sample, original bass that was played, and so now we're gonna go to strings. So I'm gonna go to my plugin that I know I had some strings in, and in this case I'm gonna go to Kontakt. So I know I'm going to switch it up a variation. So this is the core of it. Or I can come here. Sometimes you can cheat. Oh, and the note I'm on, that's another thing. I'm on just regular B. So let's change my note to regular B. See if that works. That could work. It ain't perfect, but that could work. So you can use the keys or the pads. Sometimes I find that, so I'm so accustomed to using the pads that using the notes on the pad makes it easier for me. And because I guess it's because I'm so used to chopping so much. It's kind of you kind of get into your core element. Although I can mess around with the keyboard and figure some stuff out too. So I'm having fun, so let's just do that. So let's hold that note a little better, instead of making it so choppy. Alright, so we got that. Now, another thing I like about Kontakt, which is sort of like the Advanced 49, is you can go to another instrument. So say I want to find an organ that'll complement it. Maybe play along with it. I come in and then I just put them on the same. Basically, what I do is just make sure they're on the same MIDI channel, so they'll play together. Then I can adjust the volume. Now, also what I can do is, now I got this organ in here to complement my strings. I can actually go through different instruments and see how it sounds. For instance. So what I'm doing right now is I'm actually going through the different, let's take this out the way. Sorry, I don't want to keep doing this. those strings back in. So now I like how it's going. I like the organ and I like the strings together. So now that I like that, I want to give it a more vintage feel. So I'm gonna try to see what I can do as far as like VSTs effects to kind of help me out there. So I'm gonna try this air saturation filter to see how effective that will be in accomplishing that goal. Alright, so now you see how you just took one sound and now an arrangement is coming together from one sample chop. Now you're building an arrangement. So I tend to think an organ could probably work. So I think I'm gonna go with Kontakt once more. Make another instance of it. And go with this I said organ, I meant piano, grand piano sound. Now I'm going to use chords. So I know my root is B minor, but I could also, I'm looking at here my chart now, I know that B minor can also be complemented by E minor or F sharp minor or D major. So I'm mainly going to be focused on B minor. And now I'm looking for, I got chords. So I'm going to check out E. Sometimes it's trial and error. Alright. So I'm gonna go back with B. I want something low and dark, but let's see what happens. I'm gonna go with progressions. So I have a D in here. Like that. Alright, my video cut short, but anyway, I can get back to it. But you saw how those elements came together, so let's listen to them again. This is about the sample. And even that alone, without the sample, is something that you can build on and construct more to. So, sometimes just take a sample. Bass, keyboard, harmonica, I don't care what it is. Take up one little element and then build around it. And what you're going to find is that it's a lot more easier to add live instrumentation and other elements to your sample beats. And it'll become second nature because you're doing it so much. And I must admit that every so often I'll mess around and like, I'm going to make an original track. And it's a struggle. I struggled at first, but I find that now it gets more easier. And I'm able to find notes a lot faster, a lot better. Come up with ideas of how certain things I want to put together to make a composition. And this was just off the cuff. So a lot of times when I really put my mind to it, I really make some cool, at least I think, intricate shit that sound really cool. And then what you may find yourself doing is, how cool would it be that you could do that? Then all of a sudden you're making your own original beats that sound like samples. Now you chopping up your own shit, speeding it up, slowing it down. I mean, a lot of producers have gone that route. I mean, Illmind's doing it, Frank Duke's doing it, Jake One, has done it. I mean, you got a lot of them out there, even putting out sample kits that sound like original samples and stuff that you can chop up and use any way that you like, royalty-free samples. So that's cool. And in your beats, when you start doing that, you'll find yourself making stuff, or at least arranged in a manner of something that will probably sound sampled anyway, because that's what we do. We pull from samples. So our ears are really, if you really think about it, our ears are keen to certain instrumentation and arrangements because we dig through samples all the time. So this is a great element to hone your skills, to boost up your playability, and how you intricate and how you introduce live instrumentation into some of your samples. And sometimes it could just be a couple elements that just take your sample beat or those chops to the next level. So doing this will hone those skills and make it a lot more easier for you. So as promised, the next duty, I'll let you hear this one more time. Now it could be mixed better, and I could use some better VSTs to bring out some better elements, but that's the final part. Once you got the meat and potatoes, you can always go back and do that. So that's done. So now I'm gonna go back, like I said, and just take the loop itself, then add elements to the loop. I'm not gonna go through the whole process and make the video like super extra long, but I'll break it down. And then, all right, that's it. I'm here with the breakdown, but I need to make an addendum or whatever. I've been saying Sample School Volume 12. This is actually Sample School Volume 13. The next one will be 14. So I apologize for the earlier stuff in the earlier segment of this video. It's not Sample School Volume 12. It's actually Sample School Volume 13. I've been sick, I've been out of it, so I'm back to it. Again, we talk about elements. I did this time, instead of the chop, I got just the plain loop. And like I said, I'm going to go through the breakdown and the instrumentation that I added to it. So this is the sample. People say, what's that sample? What's that sample? eDigging.com. Subscribe, join, it's $7 a month. It's not a lot of money. So it's on eDigging.com. You can get it just like I got it. People need to start working for their digging a little bit more. Even if it's eDigging, you know what I'm saying? Just to give it out to you and just tell you who the artist is, although it's available. I mean, yeah, let's put in some work. So, eDigging.com. You know, you can get the same sample. So then after that, I added the bass. Now the bass is it's actually I think it's the J bass in Contact. So that's the bass. Then I added strings. Now I gotta go to the main thing. I'm trying to think on the strings, which is track 3. Track 4 rather. So the strings are from Player, Sonavox Player strings. So I took the strings from there. Then I went to Player Allegro, another Sonavox VST, and got this like bell effect. Let's go to that. one of those I went a higher octave than what I'm playing now. You'll hear it. So let's go back. And I put an effect on it, of course, as well, to give it a little bit more, to make it sound a little more wider, and spacious. Now, not last, but I added some horns, and this is from Session Horns in Kontakt. So, here we go. Now, unfortunately, the first example I gave you, I actually erased it. But this one, I actually saved it, so I can, I'll play an MP3 version at the end of the video, so you can kind of hear the elements together. It's not mixed perfectly, but again, this is just to give you a general idea how you can just take a keyboard sample and add elements to it. Then I added just a simple drum loop. Not really one I would use for this, but just something so it can have some drums behind it. So now let's listen to it all together. Alright, so you heard me build it up. So let's just concentrate on all the individual elements. I'm going to start from track 1 all the way up. Track 1 is the drum loop. Alright, 2 is the sample. Alright, that's the sample. That was the inspiration for all this other stuff. Now, this is the bass. Alright, now the strings. Alright, now that little bell. And then the horns. Should have put some effect on the horns, but they pretty dry. So, let's listen to all the elements without the drums and without the sample. As I was mentioning earlier, if I take that sample or take this composition, mix it better, maybe run it through tape or through a slight saturation effect to give it that grimy old feel, it'll sound probably like a sampled joint. So that's why I said, work on using a single element and building around it. It will help your instrumentation. So when you start working on other samples, you want to implement bass, or you want to implement a chord, or you want to implement a string, it will become so much easier. And it's just for me just doing it all the time, and then just little elements I add. I'm like, well, does this work? And I get another instrument and say, well, what would make this instrument sound good with this? And you mess around with it, it'll just start to click, and you'll get into your own little groove. So that's it, folks. I throw the sample again and build around it, and then end of the video. So everything complements it. Now we're gonna go to the bass. Now let's just do the strings. With the sample, of course. There you have it. Sample 14 coming up next. In the near future, of course, not like right next, but I guess you already know that. So Sample School 14 is next, and thank you for watching. Peace.